The Wisconsin teacher strike of 2011. Hello, I'm Mrs. Smith, and I am a teacher at Marquette Elementary School in Madison, Wisconsin. We've been subject to some changes to our pay and benefits as a result of our governor, and I would like to let you know what's going on. First, I'll outline my and my colleagues' goals as teachers for the strike and let you know how the strike opponents feel about it. Then I'll give you their argument and let you know how we feel about it. And finally, I'll end with my opinions of the whole thing. Let's begin. The teachers wanted to protest the bill by our governor, Scott Walker, that would cut our wages by doubling premiums for health care and increase our contributions to our retirement plans. The unions were most concerned about protecting collective bargaining rights for state workers because all state workers were impacted, not just the teachers. On the World Socialist website, referenced at the end of my presentation, Tom Ellie said, "Walker's plan is a far-ranging assault on public sector workers. By increasing employee contributions to health care and retirement plans, it would force wage cuts of between 8 and 20%, workers say. It also gives the governor new powers to unilaterally intervene against striking workers whenever he declares a state of emergency. Walker has provoked rage by threatening to call out the National Guard to enforce the bill. If that doesn't lay it out clearly, I'm not sure what will." The bill would require unions to hold yearly elections to maintain union certifications. This turns the focus away from the bureaucracy of union agendas. The bill abolishes the mandatory dues checkoff system. This would force the bureaucracies to survive on voluntary contributions. Eventually, their ability to provide resources back to the Democratic Party would erode. To maintain political strength, they need renewable and sustainable resources. Also on the World Socialist website, Tom Ellie said, more than 300 faculty members at UW-Madison who are not unionized signed a letter expressing concern of the loss of collective bargaining rights for state workers. The letter said, referring to the budget cuts proposed by Walker, "Such cuts will also make it very difficult for us to recruit the high-quality staff and graduate students that have helped make UW-Madison a leading research university in the United States and internationally." People who were for the bill would tell you that Governor Walker's reasoning behind it was to reduce the state budget deficit. He stated that the budget repair bill, quote, would reform the union-controlled hiring and firing process by allowing school districts to assign staff based on merit and performance, end quote. He felt that his method of reducing the budget was more beneficial than other states handling the same issue. He said that if they didn't make these cuts, they would have to lay people off anyway. They also wanted to replace the prison guards if they participated in the strike, which gave rise to a state of emergency. To me, this sounds like Governor Walker is trying to instill fear in his public workers and in his citizens. People who were for the strike also had fears. One concern was that many small-town school districts had to close down. Over 10,000 teachers were involved in the strike. Tens of thousands of workdays were lost. There would be an overwhelming support for open-ended general strike of state and local workers, including teachers. The trade union bureaucracy is completely opposed to such a step, not only because it would require breaking state law, but because it would bring to the forefront the fundamental social grievances of public sector workers and indeed the entire working class, which would inevitably come into conflict with the aims of the union hierarchy. So basically, their fear was civil unrest and fundamental social grievances of the public sector workers. And to this argument, the teachers said that the teachers wouldn't strike if their benefits weren't being taken away, and the schools wouldn't need to shut down if the teachers didn't get them taken away. All of the strike opponents' fears about the strike would not be relevant if they weren't doing something to make the teachers lash out. They would have nothing to worry about if they would give the teachers back the things that they already had before cuts. Teaching assistants at the University of Wisconsin called for a teach-out rather than a walkout. This encouraged the support of the movement without abandoning the students. Teachers were encouraged to hold classes elsewhere to tend to the educational needs of their students. Opposition remained strong on the campus of the University of Wisconsin by students, graduate students, and teachers. Neighboring states' union members also showed support by holding their own protests to show support and solidarity. The AFL-CIO and the AFS-CME felt they were on the threshold of being in violation of the law and needed to concede to the passage of the bill. They wanted to divert the movement into a series of isolated recall campaigns against the selected Republican senators. As a teacher at Marquette Elementary School in Madison, Wisconsin, I have been personally impacted by the changes Governor Walker has made to the state workers' wages. Personally, I'm frustrated. We make a low salary anyway, especially compared to what the governor makes, $144,423 annually, and he wants to cut our pay by making us pay more for retirement and health care to fix a deficit that we didn't create. Why can't he cut his own pay to help fix the deficit? Or the superintendent of instruction who makes $120,111? Why do we, who make $33,000, have to get our salaries cut? I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Not only me, but all teachers and all public workers. Without us, what would the city have? Without the teachers, what would come of the future generations? This strike is our way of sticking up for ourselves, and I agree with it 100%. We need to show our government that we are not okay with this. If we didn't have our unions, we would not be able to voice our opinions because the government would walk all over us. I understand that as teachers, we came into this profession knowing that we would receive lower wages than most, and most of our driving forces are the kids. But at the same time, we have to be able to live. We have families, we have bills to pay and mouths to feed, and with these budget cuts, we're having a harder time doing that. I agree with our right to strike 100%, and I'm not going to stop until we get what we need. And lastly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. Oftentimes, the teachers' opinions get left out of arguments and get left out of decisions, but we hope this strike has shown that we won't take a change like this lightly.